In order to be critical thinkers, it's important that we don't always take things at face value, because things are not always as they appear. For example, you may think this mug has something in it. It's actually empty. When we take things at face value, we might come to the wrong conclusion.
Which is why when Nate does another yet again piss poor video on Feminist Logic Fail, it's the duty of people like me and other people to call out the bullshit. Now, while it may be popular consensus that Nate is this cool, calm, collected guy, he's always got the facts and evidence on his side, a lot of the time he does tend to twist the truth, which means intentionally leaving stuff out of his video to give a different message. He did this in Feminist Logic Fail number 2, where he removed the part of the woman complaining that a guy's dick was groping her on a subway. He removed this based on speculation to make people less sympathetic towards the woman. Because Feminist Logic Fail is meant to show that they're radical feminists, not human beings with thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And he did this yet again in Feminist Logic Fail number 4, where he took the context out of manspreading to completely brush over the power dynamic that the feminists discussed. And for the record, I disagree with the power dynamic. I don't think manspreading comes from this overarching sexism thing, but the fact that Nate didn't even have the balls to respond to that shows how strong he is at being a logical thinker. The fact he couldn't even come up with a retort to that to even display in the video where he's saying that the feminists are dumb. So let's dive into Feminist Logic Fail number 6, Fatshaming edition.
Hello everyone, you are now watching Feminist Logic Fail number 6. Now, the topic of fat acceptance is nothing new. Tons of people have talked about it, and I think any rational person knows why being obese is bad for you.
Which is a valid point. Which is why the group isn't called obese acceptance and why it's called fat acceptance. There's a complete difference between accepting obesity and accepting being a little bit overweight or being overweight. Because fat people, contrary to popular belief, actually can be healthy human beings. Obese people, on the other hand, are more likely to get stuff like type 2 diabetes and other diseases and conditions. So Nate, how about we stop talking about obesity acceptance, because that isn't the topic of the video as your title suggests? How about we talk about fat acceptance, and not turn it into a straw man?
However, I don't think most people are aware of just how harmful fat acceptance is, because the movement hurts everyone, and that'll become very clear as this video goes on.
Please take note of what Nate's trying to do here. So Nate brings up the topic of fat acceptance and then says how being obese is bad for you. Later in the video, he also kinda does this. But when did being obese suddenly coincide with fat acceptance? It seems to me like Nate is doing this intentional little slip up with the words here so he can talk about how the health risks of obese people are bad, therefore being fat is bad. How fucking disgusting.
Hey ladies,
The sun is shining,
the pina coladas are flowing.
and everybody's headed to the beach. You know what that means.
It's time for some fun in the sun.
No, it's time to work on your bikini body.
And there it is, there's the warning, people. There is the red flag that everything beyond this point is toxic garbage.
Hey Nate, do you remember the part of the beginning of your Feminist Logic Fail number 4 manspreading where you said, "Disclaimer, the Feminist Logic Fail series is not intended to target feminists as a whole." Which normal people can infer from that when you hear the word feminist, you're not just going to scream toxic garbage, but you're actually going to infer that the person you're talking to is a normal feminist or a radical feminist, and then decide what you want to do from there. By brushing off all feminists as toxic garbage or something for feminists as toxic garbage, seems to negate the message you originally set out to do. But if you want to contradict the message of your own fucking series, then more power to you, Nate.
Before you slip into your swimsuit, you could start a grueling workout routine and manipulate your natural shape and skin tone to reach for an unattainable and oppressive idea of perfection.
Wow, that was a mouthful of excuses. It's called exercise. Humans have been doing it for a while now because, it works.
Wait, okay, I'm sorry, where was the part of the video where she said that she doesn't like exercise and she wasn't going to do exercise? Or that she doesn't do exercise? Whew! Because it seems to me like what she was actually discussing was unattainable body images. Now, what could she mean by unattainable body images? Well, she could mean something which is quite universal to both men and women. A media that perpetuates a notion that you need to look like this regardless of gender. If you're a guy, you need to be this unrealistic, attainable of buff. If you're a woman, you've got to have ginormous tits and you've got to look attractive. You know, something which most people would be against. But Nate doesn't discuss that or try to debunk how all these unrealistic expectations are actually a good thing. Instead, he takes the point out of context and then argues with a strawman version of the feminist he's trying to claim is so dumb. You know, if all these feminists are so stupid and easy to refute, then why do you need to take them out of context?
Also, you don't have to do a grueling workout routine to lose weight. Just do basic stuff like eat healthy, consume fewer calories, on a regular basis do some simple cardio. God forbid you sweat or have to use your lungs. Oh, the oppression.
Well, good job that the 5th grade gym teacher Gary here is willing to explain to us how to actually lose weight. But again, that wasn't the point they've made. So again, you're arguing against a fucking straw man.
Or you could follow a few quick and easy tips for a self-accepting journey to the beach.
Contrary to popular belief, acceptance is not always a good thing. By accepting your body the way it is right now, you are slowly killing yourself. The health risks of being fat include type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, cancer, obesity, hypoventilation syndrome, sleep apnea, asthma, erectile dysfunction,
Which I'm pretty sure, Nate, a lot of females are so worried about getting erectile dysfunction.
arthritis, infertility, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, dyslipidemia, gallbladder disease, depression, chronic kidney disease, and of course, death.
Well, fuck it, you learn something new every day. Apparently dying is a disease.
So when you tell people to accept being fat, you're telling them to accept all of these things too. Great message.
Well, let's negate the fact that some of the diseases you just mentioned are gender specific, so they're not really something that every single fat person can get. And brushing off the fact that death happens to fucking everyone. Again, you're talking about obesity, you're talking about when it gets to the point where it's actually affecting someone's health. What if it isn't affecting someone's health, Nate? What then?
Want to turn your flab into abs in just 2 weeks?
Well, that's too bad, because that's not how exercise works.
What's that? Losing weight takes time and effort? Might as well give up then.
How the fuck was that what she said? She proposed the argument, you want to lose weight in 2 weeks, then she said, no, that doesn't happen. So obviously she's debunking the notion that it takes 2 weeks to lose weight. It's not a simple thing, it's a strenuous and grueling task that can take quite a long time. That doesn't mean that they're making the argument that they're against it because it's a grueling exercise. You can't make this assumption just because they're fat, and making it is honestly kind of fucking shitty. So again, your arguments land on assumptions. You don't know if they're against exercise. You don't know if they do exercise or if they don't exercise. So why are you acting as if you do?
Over 37% of adults 20 years and older are obese in this country, and if you include adults who are overweight, it's over 70%. It's also estimated that by the year 2030, 44% of adults in the US will be obese. Your video isn't helping.
How? It isn't talking about obese acceptance for the third fucking time. It's talking about fat acceptance. So linking all these statistics on how being obese is bad for you and how there's all this shit that proves it is really just arguing on a point that wasn't even fucking made. Which is kind of what you seem to rely on.
And you might ask, why do you care, Nate? It's not your problem. Yes, it is my problem. Your behavior is damaging our country. The medical costs of obesity range anywhere from $147 to over $190 billion per year. And do you know who has to pay for that? The taxpayers. Yay! Also, because obese people tend to skip work more often...
This sounds like it's coming from an internal bitterness, Nate. Yeah, filthy fat people skipping work all the time. Unlike me, Nate, though, who would never skip a day's work. Let's just forget that I want to make YouTube my fucking living.
They cost us $3.38 to $6.38 billion annually. And even when they are at work, they're less productive and cost employers $506 annually per worker. Are you starting to get the point?
Oh yes, Nate, loud and clear, I see the point. Fat people skip work because they're lazy fucks, and when they are there, because they're lazy fucks, they don't do jack shit. They're wasting all of our resource. Now tell me again how you aren't a bigot.
And finally, due to the increase of obesity over the years, we are now using over 1 billion additional gallons of gasoline annually. You are wasting our time, our money, and our fossil fuels. And you think we should accept that? How about no?
Fuck fat people.
And even if it did, no one else gets to tell you what your body should look like.
Well, actually, science tells you what your body should look like. You see, we have this thing called the body mass index. It's used to help measure a person's body fat.
Oh yes, the body mass index. A completely inaccurate representation on how to determine whether or not you're fat, because the body mass index doesn't take into account muscle. So as this article suggests, someone who could be a 6-foot Olympian could have a BMI of roughly 26. The same BMI as a couch potato who sits down and does fuck all. So science tells us what our body should look like with a BMI? Do you really want to go down that route? Fucking come on, Nate, you fucking moron.
And some of you in this video are quite clearly in the obese category. And no, that's obviously not muscle.
I'm sorry, remind me again how Nate isn't fat-shaming people in this video?
Here's an easy, guilt-free recipe for your summer barbecue.
Go to a barbecue and don't feel guilty about it.
Contrary to popular belief, your body needs food to provide energy for basic functions. That's science.
Wow, you actually got one thing right. Your body does in fact need energy.
Well, interestingly enough, Nate, a lot of the women did get quite a lot of things right. Like how there are unattainable peaks for perfection and how an exercise isn't something that takes 2 weeks. But again, if you want to take things out of context and twist the truth, then be my guest, it only makes it easier debunking you.
However, after you take in the energy, you have to burn it off. Otherwise, it will be stored as fat. That's science too.
Now, the important thing you need to factor in, Nate, when you're making a response to someone is you need to actually explain why you're giving these refutations if it isn't already abundantly clear. Because from what I'm aware of, they didn't explain these things in the video, but they didn't disagree with them. Can you tell me that this woman right here, or the other women in the video, disagree with the notion that you need to burn off calories or else they will be stored as fat? Seems to me like I can't find any fucking reason. So please, Nate, explain to me, why do you need to refute them using this point? Do they believe it? Please explain this shit to your audience. Oh wait, you can't. Because you don't have a fucking reason.
Now it's time for the ultimate bikini body challenge.
Read some literature that challenges the cultural ideas of what constitutes a bikini body.
Don't forget, your brain is a beautiful part of your body too.
Oh, what a shock. None of those are health books, nor are any of them written by a health expert.
Okay, none of them are health books, but who said they need to be health books to educate people on what's okay to show? Anyone, regardless of weight, should feel comfortable going to the beach and not being shamed for their weight. Not being called the beluga whale that fell offshore. Does it really take a health expert to explain that?
While you're relaxing on the beach, casually reflecting the male gaze, just remember that everybody is a bikini body.
Who the fuck do you think you're fooling here? Look at your video's ratings. If this were a video game, that would be a fat person's health bar.
But guys, don't get me wrong, Nate isn't fat shaming, not at all. Despite the fact that was a completely unnecessary joke and seemed to lump fat people in with obese people because the entire video was talking about the health risks of obese people and Nate never made the distinction between obese and fat people. Nate, you're a fucking idiot.
Everyone can see through your bullshit.
Right back at you, buddy.
And aspirational tropes of beauty are 100% BS.
I welcome this opportunity to speak to the people of America.
Yeah, because John F. Kennedy said it, it must be right. Well, thank you, Nate, for yet again another shit feminist logic fail. A video where you fat shame, misrepresent facts, and misrepresent the entire fucking video. Yet again, you've never ceased to amaze me with your utter bullshit.